Welcome. Today, we will explore the story of Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook. From a curious student in Harvard to the creator of one of the most important social networks in the world, his journey shows how ideas, technology, and determination can change the way people connect. In this video, we will learn about his early life, the creation of Facebook, its rapid growth, and the challenges he faced along the way. We will also see how his vision shaped a global platform that connects billions of people every day. By watching and listening carefully, you will not only improve your English skills, but also discover the story of innovation, responsibility, and creativity that has impacted our world. Let's start the journey and learn more about Mark Zuckerberg. The journey of connection, Mark Zuckerberg. In the quiet dormitories of Harvard University, a young man named Mark Zuckerberg sat before a glowing screen, fingers flying over his keyboard. The world outside was calm, unaware that within those red brick walls, a transformation of human communication was beginning. Mark was driven by curiosity and an unrelenting fascination with how people interacted. He spent nights reading about networks, psychology, and the power of shared identity. What fascinated him most was not technology itself, but the patterns behind how people sought recognition and belonging. Before the idea of a massive social platform ever took shape, Mark had already begun creating small tools for his classmates. One of them allowed students to compare photographs and rate attractiveness, a crude and controversial experiment that spread rapidly across campus. It was called Face Mash. The attention it received was mixed. Some admired his skill, others criticized his invasion of privacy. But the event gave him a glimpse into something deeper. People had an intense desire to be seen, connected, and remembered. Mark's curiosity did not fade after the scandal surrounding Face Mash. Instead, it evolved. He began imagining something larger, something that would connect not only students but people from every corner of the world. He thought of how universities kept digital directories of students, names, photos, dorms, and interests, but those were isolated and static. What if there were a living, dynamic version, a shared digital identity that each person could control and expand upon? Each night, he worked longer hours, balancing classes and code, building something that could grow beyond Harvard's walls. His dorm room became both laboratory and refuge. Empty coffee cups surrounded his laptop, notes scrawled across whiteboards. The faint hum of computers filled the air, mixed with a quiet rhythm of ambition. Mark's goal was not fame or money. He simply wanted to solve the puzzle of connection, to understand how technology could map the invisible lines between people. As the first version of the Facebook came alive, it was modest in design. Students could upload photos, list interests, and connect with friends. Yet, even in that simplicity, something magnetic pulsed beneath the surface. Within days, thousands joined. Harvard students began spending hours exploring profiles, sending friend requests, and realizing how small their world truly was. Mark watched as the data grew, every connection forming a digital thread in a vast, expanding web. He felt both awe and unease. He was building something that was growing beyond his control. It was in that moment he understood that innovation carried weight. He was not merely creating a tool. He was opening a door to a new kind of society. The code on his screen represented more than software. It represented the future shape of human relationships. What had begun as a campus experiment was evolving into a phenomenon that would challenge traditions, reshape communication, and redefine privacy. The rapid success of the Facebook within Harvard was both thrilling and unsettling. Within a few weeks, Mark's creation had become the digital heartbeat of campus life. People who once passed each other without notice now exchanged friend requests, shared thoughts, and peeked into one another's lives with a new kind of curiosity. What started as a modest project now pulsed with unstoppable energy. Mark felt an urgency to expand beyond Harvard. He reached out to his roommates and close collaborators, who shared his excitement and believed in the project's potential. They began adding other universities, one by one. Each edition brought a surge of new users, filling their servers with constant activity. The lines of code Mark wrote in silence now echoed across dorm rooms and libraries far from his own. The digital map of friendships was spreading like a living organism. The more it grew, the more Mark realized that this was no longer just about schools. It was about people everywhere, the universal desire to connect, share, and express identity. Yet, with growth came chaos. The team worked tirelessly to maintain the system. The site crashed often, forcing them to patch and rebuild. Mark spent long nights debugging, eyes red from lack of sleep, fueled by caffeine and ambition. He felt the pulse of something far greater than himself moving through the circuits and cables. Outside the realm of code, pressure began to mount. Other tech enthusiasts noticed the platform's rapid rise. Competitors appeared, each claiming to understand connection better, each hoping to seize the momentum. Some investors began knocking, offering resources and promises. Mark, however, hesitated. He wanted to keep control, to protect the purity of his vision. Money was not yet his priority. Building something meaningful was. But he knew he could not do it alone. The servers were expensive, the user base growing faster than any of them could manage. One investor stood out, Peter Thiel, who saw in Mark not just a young programmer, but a visionary capable of reshaping the internet itself. With that investment came a new phase, relocation to Palo Alto, California. The move marked a turning point. The rented house in Palo Alto became the nerve center of a young company. It was both home and headquarters, a chaotic space filled with computers, pizza boxes, and restless ideas. The small team lived and breathed their creation, coding by day and testing by night. The air buzzed with the energy of possibility. Mark, now in a new world of entrepreneurs and innovators, found himself at the center of a revolution. He spent hours walking through quiet suburban streets, thinking about what Facebook could become. His vision expanded beyond college networks. He imagined a world where every person had a digital identity, a place to share their story, a map of their relationships visible in real time. Yet, as the dream grew, so did the weight of responsibility. Every decision mattered. Each feature could alter how people related to one another. Mark began to feel the tension between innovation and ethics. He was building something powerful, but power came with questions he was not yet ready to answer. The lines between technology and humanity were beginning to blur, and the consequences were just beginning to unfold. As Facebook expanded beyond colleges and into the public sphere, the platform's influence grew exponentially. Millions of users began creating profiles, uploading photos, sharing ideas, and connecting with people across cities, countries, and continents. Each new account added another thread to the digital web, making it richer, more intricate, and harder to control. Mark watched as his creation transformed into something larger than himself, a living network that reflected the complexities of human society. With growth came scrutiny. Universities and media questioned the rapid spread of personal information online. Some accused Facebook of violating privacy, while others celebrated its potential to foster connection. Mark faced a new challenge, balancing freedom and oversight. Every feature he released carried implications for how people expressed themselves and how their data was used. The weight of those choices pressed heavily on him. Internally, tension emerged among the team. Some early collaborators wanted aggressive expansion and monetization, while Mark focused on maintaining the platform's integrity and user experience. Arguments flared over strategy and control, but Mark's clarity of vision often guided decisions. He believed that success would follow innovation and trust, not immediate profit. The company's rapid growth also drew legal attention. Some former classmates and partners claimed ownership or contributions that had been overlooked, leading to lawsuits that demanded Mark's attention. Each case threatened to slow development and distract from the core mission. Mark faced the complexity of law, finance, and human relationships, realizing that creating a revolutionary platform required navigating not only technology, but also social, ethical, and legal landscapes. Despite the pressures, Mark continued to innovate. He introduced features that allowed users to share more of their lives, status updates, photos, and later, videos. Each new addition reshaped online behavior and deepened engagement. The platform began to influence social norms, redefining how people communicated, how friendships were maintained, and how news was consumed. Mark observed patterns he had never anticipated, recognizing that his creation was altering society itself. Criticism intensified as the platform became central to public life. Privacy debates, data security concerns, and the spread of misinformation emerged as persistent challenges. Mark realized that Facebook was no longer just a tool for connection. It was a cultural force with profound consequences. Each decision carried ripple effects, and he had to anticipate problems that few could yet imagine. Amid controversies and technical demands, Mark remained focused on growth. He pushed the team to improve the platform's performance and accessibility, expanding servers, refining algorithms, and ensuring that new users could join seamlessly. The house in Palo Alto became a hub of innovation, strategy, and constant activity. Exhaustion was common, but so was exhilaration, the sense that they were shaping the future. Even as the world adapted to Facebook, Mark remained focused on its potential. He continued to explore innovations, mobile integration, news feeds, and advanced algorithms that would make connections more immediate and meaningful. The vision of a fully connected world drove every decision, every sleepless night, and every line of code. The dorm room spark had become a global network, and Mark understood that this was only the beginning. By the late 2000s, Facebook had grown far beyond American universities. Users from around the world joined, drawn by the simplicity of profiles, the ease of connecting, and the thrill of sharing life online. Cities, countries, and cultures once distant were now linked by a single digital network. Mark realized that his platform had evolved from a college experiment into a global phenomenon, touching millions of lives daily. The company itself transformed alongside its user base. Offices expanded, teams specialized, and departments emerged to handle engineering, design, security, and community management. Mark, once coding alone in his dorm, now led hundreds of employees. Decision-making became a balance of strategy and foresight. Every new feature required consideration of cultural norms, accessibility, and potential impact. Facebook was no longer just software. It was an ecosystem with responsibilities that stretched across the globe. Mark's attention shifted to how people consumed information. News, images, and personal stories flowed through Facebook at unprecedented speeds. Patterns emerged. Content that evoked emotion spread faster. Connections influenced behavior, and digital trends shaped real-world conversations. He observed these dynamics carefully, aware that the platform's reach carried power he had only begun to understand. Challenges multiplied with growth. Governments scrutinized the platform for regulation, privacy, and security. Some criticized its role in social manipulation, misinformation, or cultural influence. Mark faced global pressures that were far removed from the dorm room debates of his college days. Yet he maintained a focus on connectivity, believing that Facebook's core mission, to bring people closer, remained vital despite criticism. Infrastructure became a critical focus. Servers were built across continents, data centers optimized for speed and reliability. Mark's team worked tirelessly to ensure that users could connect seamlessly regardless of location. Technical innovation became as important as strategic vision. The digital world was expanding faster than the physical, and Facebook had to keep pace. Cultural adaptation also became crucial. Features had to consider local languages, norms, and communication styles. Mark encouraged teams to study regional behavior and user preferences, understanding that global connectivity required more than simply translating content. It required empathy and insight into diverse human experiences. Amid the challenges, the company's influence grew. Businesses, organizations, and individuals began using the platform for marketing campaigns and social movements. Facebook had become a tool not only for friendship but for shaping opinions, spreading ideas, and mobilizing communities. Mark watched this transformation with a mixture of pride and caution, aware that the digital threads he created now carried significant social weight. Even as Facebook reached billions of users, its power became undeniable. The platform was no longer just a space for friends. It was a force shaping society, culture, and politics. Mark watched as movements gained momentum, as ideas traveled across continents in minutes, and as communities formed around shared interests and causes. The world was connected in ways previously unimaginable, but with that connection came responsibility. Mark began to understand that technology could amplify both good and harm. Misinformation spread as quickly as truth, and digital arguments could escalate into real-world consequences. He faced the challenge of balancing openness with protection, freedom with accountability. Every decision about features, algorithms, or policies carried weight far beyond the code itself. He realized that Facebook was no longer just his creation. It had become a mirror of humanity, reflecting both its brilliance and its flaws. The pressure of leadership grew. Investors, employees, governments, and the public all demanded decisions that could alter the course of society. Mark spent countless hours in meetings, analyzing data, consulting experts, and envisioning the consequences of each choice. The simplicity of connecting people had transformed into a complex responsibility to millions, sometimes billions of lives. Innovation continued at a relentless pace. Mark pushed for new tools that could deepen connection and engagement, including mobile applications, messaging services, and advanced personalization. Each advancement expanded Facebook's reach, shaping the way people interacted with each other and the world. Yet the expansion brought scrutiny. Ethical questions, legal challenges, and public debates became constant companions of progress. The company's culture reflected Mark's vision: relentless curiosity, creativity, and problem-solving. Teams were encouraged to experiment, iterate, and challenge assumptions. Mistakes were expected, lessons were learned quickly, and progress continued at an extraordinary pace. The environment was intense, but it fostered breakthroughs that kept Facebook ahead of competitors and at the forefront of digital transformation. Mark also explored virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and other emerging technologies. He saw potential in creating more immersive and interactive experiences, imagining a world where users could connect beyond text and images, entering shared digital spaces that felt real. The ambition was not just to connect people, but to expand the very nature of connection itself. As Facebook matured, Mark began to reflect on the consequences of his creation. The platform was now deeply woven into daily life for billions of people, influencing friendships, news consumption, business, and even politics. Every feature, every change in algorithms, and every policy decision carried weight far beyond what he had imagined in his dorm room years ago. He realized that the power to connect also came with the responsibility to protect, guide, and anticipate unintended consequences. The challenges were immense. Misinformation, privacy breaches, and misuse of the platform became recurring concerns. Governments and international organizations scrutinized Facebook's influence on elections, social movements, and cultural norms. Mark recognized that the digital web he had built was not neutral. It affected perception, decision-making, and even reality itself. This awareness demanded careful management, foresight, and ethical consideration. Internally, the company faced debates about growth versus ethics, monetization versus trust. Mark often weighed the trade-offs between innovation and societal impact. He encouraged teams to design responsibly, implement safety measures, and monitor the effects of their work. Yet he understood that no system could be perfect. Complexity, scale, and human behavior ensured that challenges would continue to arise. Despite the pressures, Mark remained committed to the vision of connection. He reflected on the earliest days at Harvard, remembering the excitement of building tools that allowed people to discover one another. That curiosity had grown into a mission to create a global network where ideas, stories, and relationships could flourish. The fundamental principle of bringing people together guided his decisions even in the most complicated moments. Mark's vision continued to expand. He imagined a future where technology would enhance human connection, foster creativity, and support global collaboration. Virtual and augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and new forms of digital communication became avenues for exploration. The goal was not merely to maintain a network, but to reimagine the ways in which people experience relationships, knowledge, and shared existence. In this process, Mark understood the essence of legacy. It was not measured solely in wealth, users, or influence, but in the ways his work enabled people to connect, understand, and support one another. The true impact of Facebook lay in the human stories it nurtured, the friendships formed, communities built, and lives enriched through shared connection. Mark reflected on the journey from a dorm room project to a global phenomenon. The spark of curiosity, the passion for understanding human behavior, and the drive to innovate had guided him through challenges, controversies, and triumphs. He realized that leadership and vision were ongoing responsibilities, requiring adaptability, empathy, and unwavering focus. Ultimately, Mark's story became one of transformation, not only a technology, but a human interaction itself. Facebook had redefined connection in the modern era, and Mark's vision continued to guide its evolution. Through innovation, reflection, and commitment to human connection, he shaped a platform that became both a mirror and a bridge for the world, leaving a legacy that would endure long into the digital age.